The first time I dreamed of her, I woke up shaking, half convinced the world wasn't real anymore. Not because she was a stranger, but because she felt like someone I had already lost, someone my heart remembered before my mind could. That's the cruelest kind of dream, isn't it? The one that tastes like memory. And then just like that, she walked into my life alive, flesh and blood, her voice laced with danger, her smile soft enough to undo me in a heartbeat. Her name was Evelyn. I should have turned away. God, I should have run. It was fall in New Orleans, the kind of sticky autumn that still clung to the air like summer refused to let go. I was new in the city, clumsy with maps and even clumsier with belonging. My job at the bookstore was small, the kind where afternoons passed with the smell of old paper and the buzz of ceiling fans. It wasn't much, but it was survival. The nightmares had already started by then. Shadows crawling at the edge of my bed, whispers that stitched themselves into my bones. Every night she appeared. Black hair like ink spilling across white sheets, eyes burning with something I didn't understand. She always reached for me, and every time I woke before she touched me. I told myself it was just stress, just the strangeness of moving. But the morning Evelyn walked into the bookstore, my world cracked in half. She wasn't just similar to the woman from my dreams, she was her. Same raven hair, same piercing eyes, same electric pull that burned through my chest. She leaned against the counter, her leather jacket creaking as she asked about a book we didn't carry. I couldn't breathe. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, smirking. Maybe I had. Evelyn became impossible to ignore. She showed up again a week later, then again after that. Always with excuses, always brushing her fingers across the spines of books like she was touching skin. I told myself she was just a customer, that the dreams and her arrival were coincidence. But the city had its whispers. New Orleans has always had a way of holding secrets, dressing them in music and candlelight. People spoke of a witch in town, a woman who carried storms in her blood and fire in her touch. They said she could bend nightmares, that her lovers went mad with longing. I laughed it off until I saw Evelyn light a cigarette outside the shop, the smoke curling around her like a halo, and realized the stories weren't exaggerations. She was the kind of danger you recognized by instinct, the kind that made your pulse race even as your stomach dropped. And yet, when she turned those eyes on me, I wanted to be ruined by her. It wasn't long before I learned the truth. One night after the bookstore closed, she waited for me on the corner. No smile, no smirk this time, just silence. The air felt heavy, pressing against my ribs. "You've been dreaming of me," she said, not asked. I froze. My breath stuck in my throat. You think it's coincidence?" She stepped closer, her voice velvet and razor sharp. "It isn't. I marked you." The world tilted. The streetlight flickered. My skin burned where her gaze touched me. "I don't understand," I whispered. "You don't need to," she said. "Not yet." And then she was gone, swallowed by the dark like she'd never been there. From that night the spiral began. The nightmares worsened. I woke with scratches on my skin, the imprint of hands on my wrists. I smelled smoke in my sheets, tasted blood in my mouth though I hadn't bitten my tongue. And always Evelyn was there. Sometimes soft, sometimes cruel, always reaching for me. By day she haunted me too. She slipped into the bookstore, into my walks through the quarter, into the smallest cracks of my life. She didn't speak much, but her presence said enough. My body knew her before my mind allowed it. My pulse quickened, my breath shortened, my chest ached with a hunger that scared me. I hated her for it. I wanted her for it. One stormy evening I found myself on her doorstep. I didn't remember walking there, but the city has ways of leading you places you swore you'd never go. The house was old, its porch sagging, its windows glowing faintly with candlelight. I should have turned around. Instead I knocked. The door creaked open without anyone touching it. And there she was, framed in shadows, looking like every nightmare and every salvation I'd ever begged for. "You shouldn't be here," she murmured. "Then make me leave." I shot back, my voice shaking. Her smile was slow, dangerous. "Careful what you ask for." Inside, her home smelled of herbs and smoke, walls lined with books older than the country itself. Candles flickered in every corner, their light painting her in gold and shadow. She poured whiskey without asking, sliding the glass toward me. "You marked me," I said, finally daring to look her in the eyes. "Why?" Her lips curved. Because you called for me. My laugh was sharp, broken. I don't even know you. You know me better than anyone, she whispered. Every night you come to me. Every night, you beg for what you're too afraid to ask when the sun is up. My throat tightened. The air between us burned. I don't want this, I lied. Her hand brushed mine, the faintest touch, but it sent fire racing through my veins. Yes, she said, leaning closer, her breath ghosting against my lips. You do. That was the night I stopped pretending. The line between dream and waking blurred until I couldn't tell which world I was in. She consumed me, body and soul, every glance pulling me deeper, every touch unraveling me. But with Evelyn, desire was never safe. It came wrapped in secrets, in power I couldn't understand, in shadows that wanted to claim me. And as much as I feared her, as much as I tried to resist, I couldn't stop falling. Because loving Evelyn felt less like a choice, and more like destiny, the kind you can't run from, no matter how it breaks you first. The morning after I first stepped into Evelyn's house, I swore I wouldn't go back. I told myself I'd been weak, reckless, stupid. That I'd let whiskey and her eyes trick me into believing in something impossible. I even wrote it down in my journal. Stay away from her. Stay away. But words don't carry weight when your blood already belongs to someone else. By noon, I was trembling at the counter of the bookstore, half expecting her to appear, half dreading it. Every customer's face blurred together. Every creak of the door sent my heart into chaos. My boss noticed. You're pale, she said. You sick? I shook my head, muttered something about sleep. I didn't tell her that my sickness had a name. Evelyn. That night, the dreams returned with claws. I was standing in water up to my knees, the Mississippi swelling black under a blood-red sky. Evelyn stood on the far shore, her hair whipping around her face, her voice carrying through the storm. Come to me. I tried to move, but the river thickened, dragging at my legs. The water turned to hands, grasping, pulling, whispering my name. My lungs burned as I struggled, but Evelyn only watched, her expression unreadable. When I woke, I was gasping for breath, my sheets soaked as if I'd climbed straight from the river into my bed. I pressed my palms to my face and whispered, "She's killing me." But the truth that scared me most was simpler. She was keeping me alive. The following week blurred into obsession. I avoided Evelyn Street, but my mind never left her. I searched for her name online, trawled through half-baked forums about witches in New Orleans. Most posts were nonsense ghost tours, tourist bait. But a few made my stomach knot. They spoke of her like a storm, a woman who left marks no one else could see. One threat told of a man who dreamed of her for months until he wasted away. Another described her lovers as curse-burning with passion until their hearts gave out. I slammed my laptop shut, but the words burned in me. You've been dreaming of me. I marked you. She came to me again on a Thursday, just as the bookstore was about to close. I didn't hear the door. One moment I was shelving paperbacks, the next she was behind me, close enough for her breath to stir the hair at my neck. You've been running, she murmured. I spun, my pulse hammering. You can't keep doing this. You can't just appear. Can't I? Her smile was slow, dangerous. You think doors stop me? I backed against the shelf, clutching a book to my chest like it could protect me. Why me? I whispered. Out of everyone, why me? Evelyn's eyes softened just for a flicker. Because you called to me. Long before you knew my name. My throat tightened. I didn't. You did, she said. In your loneliness. In your wanting. In every dream you buried because you were too afraid to live it. She leaned closer, her hand brushing mine, sending sparks racing up my arm. I only answered. The book fell from my hands. That night I kissed her. It wasn't planned, it wasn't rational. It was raw, messy, desperate. She was in my apartment, her jacket thrown across the couch, her presence filling the air like thunder. She looked at me with that knowing smirk and I snapped. I grabbed her face, pulled her down and crushed my mouth to hers. The world exploded. Her lips were fire, her hands iron and silk all at once. She kissed like she wanted to own me, like she already did. I melted against her, every nerve alight, every breath stolen. When we finally broke apart, I was shaking. You're poison, I whispered. Her smile was wicked. Then drink me. We became inseparable after that, though never in the way that felt safe. Evelyn wasn't the kind of lover you introduced to friends. She was the kind you kept hidden, the kind who showed up at midnight with whiskey and left before dawn with claw marks on her back. Our nights blurred into one another, sheets tangled, bodies bruised with wanting, whispers that cut deeper than any knife. She was tenderness and cruelty in the same breath. One moment she'd cradle my face, murmuring like I was her salvation. The next, she'd push me against the wall and remind me who had marked whom. I hated myself for it. But God, I loved her. Still, the shadows followed. The dreams grew darker. Sometimes I woke to the sound of her voice calling me from the corner of my room. Other times I woke to scratches on my skin, shaped like symbols I couldn't read. My reflection blurred, as if something else was staring back at me. One morning I found a black feather on my pillow. I called Evelyn, my hands shaking. "What's happening to me?" "You're changing," she said simply. "I don't want to change." Her silence stretched like a blade. Then softly, "It's too late." By the time winter crept into the city, I was a ghost of myself. At work I drifted. At home I drowned. My friends noticed, invited me out, begged me to talk. But how could I explain? How could I tell them that I was caught in a spiral of love and terror with a woman who wasn't fully human? The only place I felt real was in Evelyn's arms. She'd stroke my hair, whispering things I didn't always understand. Spells, promises, curses. Sometimes I thought she loved me. Sometimes I thought I was nothing but her plaything. But every time I tried to leave, she looked at me with those eyes, those goddamn eyes, and I broke. The breaking point came on a night when the city drowned in fog. I was walking home, the air damp and heavy, when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, but no one was there. Then a voice whispered in my ear, though no lips touched my skin. "You're mine." I ran. I sprinted through the quarter, my heart hammering, the fog swallowing the streets. And when I burst into my apartment, Evelyn was already inside, waiting. Her face was shadowed, unreadable. "You can't run from me," she said. "I don't want this anymore." I shouted, tears spilling. "I can't, Evelyn, I'm losing myself. I'm not me anymore." She stepped closer, her hand reaching for my face. "You were never just you. You were always mine." I slapped her hand away. "Stop. Stop saying that like it's love." For the first time, her expression faltered. She looked hurt. "You think I don't love you?" My chest heaved. "You don't know how." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Then she turned, her voice raw. "Maybe you're right." And she was gone. The days that followed were emptier than death. The dreams stopped. The marks faded. The air in my apartment was just air, no smoke, no whispers. For the first time in months I was free. But freedom tasted like ashes. I wandered the city, half expecting her around every corner, half hoping I'd never see her again. Nights stretched on without sleep, my bed too cold, my chest too hollow. I told myself it was better this way, that I'd been saved. But the truth was cruel. Without Evelyn, I wasn't living. I was just surviving. And somewhere deep inside, I knew the spiral wasn't done with me yet. The first week without her nearly destroyed me. I told myself I was done, that I'd clawed free of her hold. But even without the dreams, her absence hollowed me out. I moved through the bookstore like a shadow, my coworkers whispering behind my back. Food lost its taste. Music became noise. And in the silence of my apartment, I caught myself pressing my face into the pillow, searching for the scent of smoke and leather that wasn't there anymore. By the fifth night, I couldn't take it. I poured whiskey, sat cross-legged on the floor, and whispered into the dark. "Evelyn, if you can hear me." "I can't," my voice cracked. I slammed the glass down. Damn you for doing this to me." And then the candle on the table flickered, though I hadn't lit it. She came back the next night. Not in flesh, not fully, but in the mirror. I was brushing my teeth when the reflection shifted. The bathroom around me blurred, warped, as if water rippled across the glass. And then she was there, her dark eyes staring into mine. "Why are you calling me back if you hate me so much?" The toothbrush clattered into the sink. My breath fogged the mirror. I didn't. You did," she said. "Every tear. Every whisper. You're still mine." I gripped the counter, shaking. "What are you, Evelyn?" Her lips curved, not cruel this time but mournful. "The question isn't what I am. It's what you are becoming." The mirror went dark. The next day, I sought answers the only way I knew how. through the city itself. New Orleans has a strange rhythm, half history, half heartbeat. The French Quarter is layered in superstition like paint on wood, each generation carving its fears into the walls. I wandered through the occult shops, the tourist voodoo stands, the alleys that smelled of incense and secrets. Most people laughed me off, tried to sell me cheap talismans. But one woman, an older priestess with eyes like wet stone, pulled me aside. "You've been touched," she said, her hand brushing the air near my wrist. "Marked." I froze. "Can it be undone?" Her expression turned heavy. "Not without blood. And not without loss." My stomach nodded. "Loss of what?" "Yourself," she whispered. "Or her." I stumbled out into the sunlight, the city spinning around me. That night, Evelyn was waiting on my fire escape. She looked different, tired, almost fragile. The kind of fragile that made me want to cradle her, even as I hated her for it. "You've been searching," she said. "Because you won't tell me the truth," I snapped. Her eyes darkened. "The truth is a curse." "Then curse me," I whispered. Her silence stretched. Finally, she climbed through the window, standing so close I felt the heat radiating off her. "I was born marked," she began, voice low. "Doomed to carry what others feared. My mother tried to sever it, but magic like this doesn't die. It transfers. And when I met you, I saw it in your eyes, the hunger, the emptiness, the calling. So I gave you a piece of me. I thought maybe together it would hurt less." Her hand trembled when she touched mine. "But instead it bound you." I searched her face. "So I'm cursed because of you?" "No," she said softly. "You're cursed because of love." My breath hitched. She leaned in, lips brushing my ear. "And I do love you. More than I should. More than you'll ever believe." It should have been comforting. It wasn't. Because now I knew the pull between us wasn't fate, wasn't chance. It was a curse dressed in the clothes of passion. And yet, when she kissed me that night, I kissed her back. The weeks blurred. I tried to fight it, but every road led back to Evelyn. Every dream, every touch, every heartbeat. She became the axis of my world, the only thing that made sense in the chaos. But the cracks widened. Some nights she'd vanish, gone for days without explanation. When she returned, her skin was pale, her lips bruised, her hands shaking. I asked where she went, who she saw. She never answered. Other nights she'd wake screaming beside me, clawing at the sheets, whispering words in a language I didn't know. Her eyes would glow faintly in the dark, and for a moment, she looked less like a woman and more like the shadow of something ancient. And still I loved her. God help me, I did. The breaking point came when my body betrayed me. I woke one morning with a mark burned into my should-era spiral of black that hadn't been there before. It pulsed under my skin, warm, alive. When Evelyn saw it, her face drained of color. "No," she whispered. "Not this." I grabbed her wrist. "Tell me what it means." Her lips trembled. "It means you're becoming me." The room tilted. I staggered back. No, I can't. "You don't have a choice," she said, her voice breaking. "I tied us too tightly. The more you love me, the faster it spreads." I touched the mark, bile rising in my throat. "Then I'll stop. I'll stop loving you." Tears welled in her eyes. "You can't." For days I tried. I locked myself away, ignored her knocks, silenced my phone. I forced myself into routine work, sleep, repeat. But every second without her felt like my body was tearing itself apart. The mark throbbed, my dreams twisted, my chest ached as if my heart itself was rotting. By the fourth night I collapsed on the floor, sobbing into my hands. And when I looked up, Evelyn was there, kneeling beside me, her face streaked with tears. "Please," she whispered. "Don't push me away. Don't make me lose you too." "Too?" My voice cracked. "Who did you lose?" Her silence was answer enough. That was the night she told me about Lydia. Her first love. The woman she tried to share her curse with decades ago. "She didn't survive it," Evelyn said, her voice hollow. "The mark consumed her. And when she died, I thought I would too. But the curse doesn't let me die. It just makes me live long enough to ruin the next person." She looked at me, her hands shaking. "I swore I wouldn't love again. But then you came and I couldn't stop myself." My chest ached with grief and rage. "So what? I'm just another Lydia." "No," she said fiercely, gripping my hands. You're stronger. You can survive this. We can survive this. But even as she said it, doubt flickered in her eyes. The following days felt like walking a tightrope over fire. We clung to each other, desperate, as if passion alone could outrun the curse. Our nights were frantic, our kisses bruising, our whispers filled with promises neither of us could keep. But the marks spread down my arm, across my ribs like vines clawing through my skin. Sometimes I caught my reflection and didn't recognize the woman staring back. And yet, whenever Evelyn held me, I felt like I still belonged to myself. Maybe that's what love is, squeezing the fire, even when you know it will burn you alive. The spiral deepened. One stormy night, as lightning split the sky, Evelyn stood at my window, her eyes glowing brighter than the storm. It's time, she said. For what? To decide. Live with me in this forever, or let me end it before it ends you. Her words sliced through me. I knew what she meant. If she severed the bond, I would lose not just her, but the part of me she awakened. Maybe I'd survive. Maybe I'd never dream again. But I'd also never feel her lips, her laugh, her fire. Tears blurred my vision. I can't lose you. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. Then you may lose yourself. And that's where the spiral spun darkest. Standing in the storm, torn between survival and love, knowing either choice could destroy me. But even then, as thunder roared and the mark burned hot under my skin, all I could think was this. I would rather be ruined with Evelyn than whole without her. The storm that night felt endless. The Mississippi churned like it was trying to swallow the city whole, and thunder cracked so violently it rattled the glass in my windows. Evelyn stood in the middle of my apartment, her leather jacket dripping rain onto the floor, her eyes glowing like two lit coals. She looked both terrifying and heartbreakingly human. It's stronger now, she said, her gaze flicking to the marks crawling over my shoulder and down my arm. They pulsed faintly, alive like roots spreading under my skin. I hugged myself, shivering despite the heat. How much longer before it takes me? Her silence was answer enough. I forced a laugh, brittle and sharp. So that's it? I'm just supposed to sit here and wait to rot? Her voice cracked when she answered. No. That's why I came. Tonight we end it. One way or another. She led me back to her house. The streets were empty, drowned in fog and rain. The house loomed at the end of the block, its porch sagging, its windows glowing faintly with candlelight. I remembered the first time I stepped inside, how I thought I was walking into a nightmare. Tonight I knew I was walking into a choice. The air inside smelled of sage and smoke. Evelyn lit more candles, lining them across the floor in a circle. In the center, she placed a bowl carved from bone, filling it with water so dark it looked like a piece of the night sky. She turned to me, her hands trembling. If we do this, there are only two outcomes. Either I sever the bond and you live, but you'll forget me. Every kiss, every touch, every moment will be erased from you. Or, you keep me and the bond consumes us both. We'll be together, but we'll burn. My throat closed. You mean I lose you either way? Her eyes glistened. Yes. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shatter every candle, overturn the bowl, and demand another way. But when I looked at Evelyn, at the fear behind her strength, the sorrow tucked inside her fire, I knew she wasn't lying. She would sacrifice herself to save me. I fell to my knees in front of her, grabbing her hands. Don't do this. Don't erase yourself from me. Please. I can't lose you. Her lips quivered. If I don't, you'll lose yourself. I'd rather you live without me than die with me. I shook my head, tears blurring my vision. That's not your choice to make. It's mine. The ritual began. She cut her palm, her blood falling into the bowl. The water hissed, smoke curling upward. The candles flickered violently, their flames leaning inward like they were bowing. Evelyn chanted in a language I didn't know, her voice low, steady, weaving through the storm outside. The marks on my body burned so hot I screamed. My skin blistered where the spiral wound itself across my shoulder. My chest felt like it was splitting open. I collapsed onto the floor, gasping. Evelyn's hands were on me, holding me down, her voice breaking as she whispered, "Stay with me. Stay." But even through the pain I saw the curse shifting, twisting, trying to jump from me back to her. It wanted her again. It always had. I realized then what she had planned. She wasn't severing the bond. She was taking it back. No. I cried, fighting against her grip. Don't you daren't you leave me like this. Her tears fell onto my skin, mixing with the smoke. This is the only way. You deserve a life, not a prison. I clawed at her shoulders, desperate. Evelyn, I don't care about life without you. I don't care if it kills me. I want you. Her lips pressed against my forehead, soft, final. Then remember me. Even if the world takes me away, promise you'll remember. And with one last whisper, the world shattered. I woke to silence. The storm was gone. The candles had burned low, wax pooled across the floor. The bowl was empty, cracked down the middle. And Evelyn was gone. No leather jacket on the chair, no whisper in the air, no trace of her except the faint smell of smoke and the hollow ache in my chest. I staggered to the mirror. The marks were gone. My skin was bare, smooth, as if nothing had ever touched me. But inside I was carved open. The weeks that followed were a blur of grief. I went to work. I smiled when people spoke to me. I paid rent, ate food, breathed air. But I was only half alive. Every corner of the city reminded me of her, every flicker of candlelight, every curl of cigarette smoke, every note of music drifting from Bourbon Street. I searched for her in my dreams, but they were empty. Sometimes I stood outside her house, but it was always dark, abandoned, like it had never been lived in at all. The city whispered that witches vanish when their work is done. Maybe she had always been a ghost. Maybe I'd imagined her. But my heart knew better. One evening in spring, months later, I sat on the levee watching the sun sink into the river. The water glowed gold and crimson, carrying the reflection of the sky like it was holding something fragile. I whispered her name just once. Evelyn. The wind stirred, soft against my cheek. And for a moment, just a moment, I felt her. Not in flesh, not in fire, but in the warmth that spread through me, in the way my chest loosened, in the quiet certainty that love like ours doesn't vanish. It changes, it lingers, it becomes something larger than loss. I smiled through my tears. Years passed. I moved on slowly. I built a life, brick by fragile brick. The bookstore turned into a career, then a small press of my own. Friends circled back into my orbit. I even laughed again, though it was softer than before. But I never forgot her. And maybe that was the real magic, not the curse, not the nightmares, not the fire that once burned us both. It was the love that survived it all. The love that marked me deeper than any spiral on my skin. One summer night I dreamed again. Not of shadows, not of storms, but of her. Evelyn standing barefoot in the grass under a sky full of stars, her black hair glowing silver in the moonlight. She smiled, not wicked, not mournful, but tender. You kept your promise, she whispered. I reached for her. My hand passed through air, but I felt warmth anyway. I'll always keep it, I said. And when I woke, I wasn't afraid anymore. Because even if she was gone, she was with me. In every heartbeat. In every dream. In every choice to keep living. The witch had marked me, yes. But love, that was the mark that lasted. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.